Hey guys, welcome to the show. Let's just make sure we're live before we start talking to nothing. Um, how's it going, everybody? Thank you for being here. We have a few announcements before we get started tonight. The conference is right around the corner. Tickets are going quick. If you haven't bought a ticket yet, there's still time. Rebelsofdisclosure.com is where you can find all that information. There are 4-day passes, single day passes, live stream passes, and all start the show. Hang on. I'm just making sure. Are we live?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
Okay.
delay. There's
Okay.
a little bit of a delay. It hasn't started
Right.
for them yet.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, so yeah, if you can't make it in person, there's live stream passes, and we really encourage you to take advantage of that because it's a cool feature. If you get on the Telegram group that we created, which is on the website Rebels of Disclosure, that'll be the place where you can ask questions to the presenters during the live stream. So if you want to, if the presenter does a Q&A at the end of their presentation, you can ask questions from at home. And that's a cool feature, and we will address them if there's time. But anyway, it's like a little incentive to grab a ticket because it's a fun experience. And if you see any of the uh, presenters, any of the speakers promoting the event, the links that they're sharing out save you 10% on live stream and in-person tickets. So take advantage of that as well. What else do I have to say? I just want to remind everybody that we do have affiliates. We haven't mentioned anything in such a long time because I've been promoting the conference, but Hopewell Farms CBD is actually going to be one of the vendors at the conference. They are every year, and they'll be back there this year. And it's top-notch CBD. It's all grown with intention, and it's homemade. And it's Nancy and Eric are beautiful people, and their products are my favorite. I use it for myself and my pets. And you can save 10% off all their products with promo code Journey to Truth 10, and that link is below. And you can find out more about that on our website as well, journeytotruth.online. All right, all the boring stuff out of the way. Welcome to the show. We are joined once again by our good friend Matthew Mournian. If you don't know who Matthew is, um, neither do we. I
Yeah.
guess.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Who,
he
who are
he
you
is a
again?
professional psychic and intuitive practitioner specializing in the removal of negative energetic manifestations from the body. Things like entity attachment, astral parasites, implantation, and many other forms of energetic targeting that are still widely unknown by the modern world. That's there is no that is the most important thing I think that anyone could be working on right now because that's the I understand that world all too well just because of the attacks and stuff that we've all experienced. But I'll turn it over to you, Matthew. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's been a while since we've done this. It's an honor, to be a part of this thing, to be showing up here. And I also want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. Hurry up and spam the chat with alien emojis. Do it now. But yeah,
All right,
thank you
I'll
for having
ignite
me.
it. I'll do it too.
I don't have access to the chat, so I won't even know if they do.
I'll
I'm
do
just
it.
saying
Yeah, I'll
for
do it
those of
too.
you guys in the chat. Ask as many weird questions as possible, guys. But anyway, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I'm really excited to get into. Well, for one, it has been a while. You've been on the show a few times, but it's been quite some time, and we're excited to have you back. And for those who don't know, Matthew is also going to be at the conference this year as a healer. He's going to be doing his everything I just read from his bio. He's going to be doing live in person at the conference, and it's been very successful the past 2 years. And he's going to be back there again doing it this year. And maybe you can just tell the audience a little bit about what you're doing, and then we'll get into the show.
Oh, totally. Especially when we see people at a live event, which is honestly the only time you will ever see me in person doing energy work. The only time we ever even make contact with people. Not that that's a big deal or not a big deal, but it's really the only time where I do what I do face to face. And honestly, it's very, very different. It's very different when we do it at a conference or at an event. And I like to call them attunements, essentially, because what you'll find is when you're meeting with person face to face in a semi-public setting like that, it changes the way energy flows. It changes the way you interact with it. Sometimes it's greater, sometimes it's lesser. And so we kind of flow with, whatever it is. But essentially what we're doing is a short-term process of opening up certain chakras, energy centers, meridian pathways within the body, And we find that when we do so, especially in person, it leads to a much greater level of full presence. And by full presence, what do I mean? When you are fully present in the now moment with other people, rather than caught up in the past, rather than caught up in your own wounds. One of the things we find is when you enter into an environment like that, all kinds of bells and whistles and thought forms and energies go off. Everyone goes through it when they come into a public area like that. And so what I found over the years is that there's this process of grounding and opening that we do with people that honestly is very different from a private session that I do over Zoom. And so we're going to be doing a lot more of that. My wife Honora will be there as well, doing her thing. She's far more refined in her work, than I am. So she takes many, many different forms, but it's an honor to get to see everyone there for I think this is the third year in a row that we've done this. And it is honestly my favorite of all the physical gatherings that we have had since we started this journey. It is the one place where you can just feel there's I don't know what the word is. It's a soul family that kind of shows up and all kind of, like interacts. But yeah, that's what we are going to be doing. So
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for saying that about the event. That's what we tried to create. We've been to a number of events and we just took our favorite parts of all those and say, hey, we can, let's just put all that together and create what we know that we want to experience when we go to an event. So that's kind of the model. Anyway, yeah, so you sent us an email, of some recent stuff that's been coming through from a QHHT experience and some other eat some beans that been in communication with, and just some very intriguing stuff. I actually heard you briefly touch on it in the Typical Skeptic podcast. You were on his show and you briefly mentioned it, something about like parallel realities, and you started talking about it, and then you guys just didn't expand on it. I'm like, no, like
yeah.
I want to hear all about it. So uh yeah, so if you don't mind, maybe we can start there and hear about some of the recent experiences you've been having.
Yeah, totally. I guess it's a little bit of a personal disclosure in a sense because it's something that I have not talked about publicly, but I had been aware of for some time, and it branches all the way back into family history through my immediate family on my mom's side. And to make a very long story short, in say the latter half of 2023, I received a QHHT session from a very cool individual in our, soul group, Mr. Drago Reed, who's a very talented, very, very talented energy worker and QHHT practitioner. And he took me through a process of opening up layers of my consciousness that I think went far above and beyond what I had ever expected. And I had been a person that had been I had a lot of, respect for QHHT, tremendous, respect for hypnotherapeutic modalities in and of themselves. It's a tool that I use in literally every single private session I use. Although I do it a little bit differently, I'm much more of a conversational kind of short-term hip hip hypnotic, kind of.
Hip hop
I know, yeah.
hippopotamus.
I will probably stutter a lot like during this, but it's a skill that I use on an everyday basis. And when I went through this process with him, it was something that was not done lightly. It was something that I had been kind of drawn to off and on for a number of years, but I had never really dove in. And when I actually went through this process, I learned why very, very quickly, because there was such a tremendous amount of data and experiences that had been buried in my body that I don't think there's any other way they could come out. And so to skip through, many, many different life cycles, one of the most notable experiences, but that I think is something that a lot of us are uncovering and sort of, realizing about ourselves. And one of those has to do with one of the concurrently running kind of extra, uh, ET programs. I'm not saying a secret space program, but what I had learned very, very specifically was that I had had a number of events early on that had actually created this opening in my energy field that allowed for what is essentially a tag and release program in which you're not taken in for a series of events or programs or whatever it is essentially what had been happening for me for my entire life was that there was a group of beings that would basically come into, through a portal. They would pick you up, they would, through whatever means they have, and they would basically deprogram every single thing that I had said or done or witnessed or felt, and it went to such an extreme, level that I learned so much about it. And so let me kind of get into that before I go on a rant. The personal family history for me plays in through my on my mom's side. My an individual in our family worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratories in the early 1970s, and it's a little hard to talk about. I'm writing a book about it right now, and in the process of doing so, I've had a number of experiences that have literally attempted to block me from speaking about it and writing about it. And it showed me
That happens.
that it was something so real that it needed to come out. So I'm going to stutter through a lot of this, but the basic story is he worked at the Los Alamos Laboratories in the early 1970s, supposedly on a top secret, check this out, glue, a type of glue that was used to mold together models for top secret aircraft. Okay. And so he would drive from California to New Mexico every 10 to 12 days, stay for multiple days at a time. And then for some reason on the way back would have these crazy experiences where he would pull over on the side of the road and he would get taken, he would get abducted. And throughout my entire early family history, this was a story that everyone would talk about. Grandpa's space stories. He would have this happen, he would have that happen, and nobody ever believed him. I was a little kid at the time, and I remember hearing those stories, and for some reason, I knew they were real. But it was sort of a secret that kind of lived and died with an earlier generation in my family. Come to find out many years later, when I started doing this work, it had been a factor for me as well. And what I had been shown is that we were part of a tag and release program. And so what does that mean specifically? What it means is that there's a group of, what we might call military industrial complex programs and also ET programs that will come in your room, basically implant you. I had learned exactly where I had been planted, and it's not the place that you would think it was. It was actually up my nose. And they showed me this very specific type of basically a strand, this fiber optic kind of cable that they would stick up your nose that had a little bulb in it that would go right past the blood-brain barrier, right into the brain itself. And what that was meant to do was to record every single thought, every single thing that you said or did. And so in going through this QHT session, that was one of the big questions. What was that event? What had happened? And it was so detailed. It showed me why I had chronic, nasal issues throughout my whole life, why I had weird health stuff, why I had this and that. And so that was the first layer of it. That was the first layer of the whole thing. And so I'll pause there if you have any questions on it.
Yeah.
I'll keep
Yeah.
going on and on, but yeah, go ahead.
Sure. No, we're going to unpack this because if you don't mind, because it's already fascinating to me. The Los Alamos stuff. I mean, everything you said as far as, driving there and spending so many days or weeks there and then coming back home. That's how those shifts occur. And any of the testimonies we hear, that lines up with that. Not that I don't believe you, but it's always good to get corroborating
Oh yeah.
information. And as far as writing the book and then the interference to stop you from talking about it, that actually happened to me writing my book. I got to the part where I was going to share some of the program experiences, right? And I got the worst nosebleed of my life, and it wouldn't stop. It would not stop, and it to the point where like I had to like almost. I thought about going to the hospital, Anyway, long story short, I never did get back to that chapter, and it was a whole distraction. But that happens, yeah. And thirdly, my father also has an implant up his nose, and I just, it does. That's common. I don't know if it's common, but it's also just another correlation. So yeah, Aaron, did you want to add anything to that before?
Yeah, that reminds me of, I remember, I think it was during an episode of Cosmic Disclosure that David Wilcock was talking about multiple like insiders who things would get triggered in them as they would talk about their experiences and that were programmed into them. So it wasn't anything physical. It was like literally a energetic programming that they would start falling asleep. They would fall asleep. They would start forgetting it. They would like all these different things would happen as soon as they would try to tell their story or their information to somebody. So I wonder if the nosebleed thing with you was like some kind of mental program trigger, or if it was just an energetic like entity attack or something as well. I mean, there's so many different things.
Yeah, I can only speculate, but it was I don't believe in
It
coincidences.
was something trying to stop you. That's all we know.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it still is to this very day. It is the hardest thing for me to speak about. I will literally start stuttering and stammering and get lost in this weird thing. It took me a literal month to be able to write it down for this book. And in kind of going back on what I had picked up from that QHHT session, it was so detailed that they showed me, and this is going to be a weird thing, but I'm going to be totally open with you guys. I noticed that over the past few years, I had actually developed a weird bald spot on both sides of my head. And this was not a thing that I had thought anything about, but in that session, I was shown that the reason why that had occurred was because one of the methods through which they would record all of your thoughts, all of your desires, everything that you said or did was through this metallic ring that they would put over my head, and it would literally go right where these weird bald spots had grown over the years. And I was like, that is so weird that that was even possible. And to make it even crazier, my wife also in this process began to experience the same nasal issues, the same exact occurrences. And to make it even more strange, I was shown that at the apartment complex I had lived, that they had also decided to pick up and begin monitoring other neighbors that had lived there. And what's wild is during the time that we lived there was people that had been, literally hermits in their houses for 15 years. I know this sounds crazy. People that lived above us, they would never come outside. They were like really sick, like disabled people. And during that time period, they started venturing outside for the first time. Their lives started to change. Something for them actually improved. And what I was shown, it was all in part related to this series of events and a soul contract that I had signed at a much, much earlier stage in this journey, most likely, before I was born. But to make it even weirder, and I'll try to keep this part short, is it branched off into a whole other version of reality. And I believe this is important to mention because I think there's a lot of people out there who are concurrently existing in this reality. It's oftentimes referred to as what many of us hear about, the breakaway civilizations. There's many of them, many of them. And in this case, it was part of a civilization that had broken off from, one of many, we've all heard the stories, exploded planets. And from a shard of this exploded planet, they were able to use this kind of chunk of the planet as a power source. And as a result, this massive structure had been built all the way around the structure of a planet. And what I was shown that, and this is a thing that I saw for a lot of us in our soul group, was that there is a version of us existing within that breakaway civilization society who actually has a vested interest in helping us uncover those pieces of our identity in this here and now. And one of the things they did, or one of the versions of myself I witnessed in there, was a version of me that would literally watch this reality right now on these holographic TV screens. And we would chart our entire existence and look for openings in which we could insert our consciousness into that 3D version of our body so that we could begin remembering. Now, why would that be important for everyone else? Because it's directly related to what's going on with a lot of people remembering secret space program stuff, my lab stuff. I'll say it once again, guys, because I know I'm often critical of everyone who suddenly wakes up in the morning and decides they're in a program. I am not. I'm not one of those people that will ever claim that. I did have some and continue to still have some very interesting, what we might call my lab experiences. But I think for like a lot of us, what we're being shown is essentially an alternate timeline in which a literal, physically real version of us is attempting to show us and, give us info about what's actually happening. But I think a lot of us end up filtering it through not only what we see from people on YouTube and people in our, like community, but it gets a little bit mixed up along the way. That's not to say there's people that aren't in those programs, because there's millions of them, probably billions of them. But I think for a lot of us, what we're encountering is an alternate timeline in which we are viewing this. And the cool thing about it is they're very aware of us in this here and now. They're absolutely aware of who we are and what we're doing. And so it went even deeper than that. But what ended up happening with that civilization, why it showed up in the QHT session, was that there was an occurrence within that timeline similar to what happened In other tales that we've heard, there was an appearance of what some people call ancient gods, which were essentially higher density beings that would show up when a civilization reaches a critical mass of consciousness or is about to take a turning point in their personal timelines. What happened within that, splintered planet timeline was that they actually showed up. They physically showed up within that space, and they basically coerced everyone into jumping into what might be described as a little bit of a soul trap thing, where they would end up sending their consciousness and their bodies through these time loops. And we were basically misled. We were misled by these fifth and sixth density beings who we thought had a vested interest in actually helping us, move out of that, timeline, but they actually locked us in it. And so one of the reasons why they're sitting there viewing us on these pieces of technology is to rectify the damage that was caused through being sent into these time loops over and over and over again. And I'll say one other thing, which might splinter off into a whole other thing. I was shown that those time loops had affected me throughout many, many different life cycles here on Earth, stretching all the way back into what we would call the 1800s, into, like the so-called Old West cowboy era, all the way even further back into the time of the Templars and a number of really big things that happened. In fact, that ended up being one of my most commonly occurring life cycles, where I would reincarnate again and join a Templar order or something like that. And so anyway, I'll just keep going on this, but it was one of the most fascinating things. And I think the reason why it needs to be stated is because there's a lot of people that are watching this show right now, probably you guys as well, that are concurrently existing on that breakaway civilization timeline. And I think once we know about them, it allows us to maybe connect with those pieces of our consciousness more clearly.
Right.
And so anyway, I will stop
Yeah.
there for the moment, but
Absolutely, absolutely fascinating stuff. And I
Yeah.
do have some things to add. I definitely believe that there is a version of us maybe on in this breakaway civilization, let's just say. And I think they're trying to get our attention. And I realized that's what was happening with me. The angel numbers, right? Well, this one number kept coming up, but it wasn't an angel number. It wasn't anything like that. It was just more or less something trying to get my attention. And after meditating on it and really sitting with it and like just going through all of everything I could think of, exploring every possibility on what this could mean, it was shown very clearly to me that it was myself trying to get my attention from,
yeah.
I guess, one of these programs, you could say. And then once I had the realization, my whole body got chills. Almost started to shake, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's me!" And then, so it's just it opened up, and it was like an invite to start that communication now, and it was amazing. And I think that it's possible. Arkim Ra talks about this, like it's
Mhm.
possible to connect with your alters, you can call them, an alternate reality, an alternate personality, but and have conversations, and therefore you can start to heal and integrate those parts of yourself. So I that all totally resonates with me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. It is a very real and strange thing to, try to like wrap your head around. And
It,
um, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and really quick, I do want to thank you for clarifying that not every time you have a memory, it doesn't automatically mean you're in the secret space program, right? And I think a lot of people filter that through that lens, like you said, and it's so important to talk about because it's I don't know. What I see is people sharing this information, and the two realities start to blend, and they can't decipher between the alternate reality and timeline and this timeline. And what happens is they claim to have known people in this other reality, and this person did this or whatever. It becomes very like high school drama, like, but
Right?
but they don't know how to separate the two realities. I'm like, you have no idea, like if that's
Right.
true, if that memory is real that you have with that person, they were in the same exact situation you were in, and they have no idea that they're doing that. And you're pissed at them in this reality because of something that happened that in this alternate timeline. So it sounds very childish, and that's where I think people on the outside looking in, they see that kind of stuff and just like they think we're all nuts because no one's
Well,
responsibly like approaching this responsibly. They're not doing it in a healthy manner, and they just start sharing stuff without actually vetting themselves first. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
done ranting now.
I very much agree. Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
And there's a lot of like ego I've noticed that gets that a lot of people, a lot of people that are these like experiencers speaking out. We need people speaking out, but there's a lot of ego that tends to crop up. I mean, in the secret space program and also just the UFO kind of community in general, where it becomes all about them rather than just getting the truth out and healing through that and connecting with people. It's like, so it may have started that way a lot of times, but then it suddenly becomes all about my story is right or my information is right or I want to be the big person or
Information
my
supremacy.
you get this ego and then you get all this info. I see a ton of that in the secret space and it's just like ridiculous. Because in my opinion, it's like, okay, well, it's great you're getting your information out, but now you've completely lost track of the whole point of everything where you're making it all about your ego, and it's like we're here to get the truth out so we can wake up everyone, humanity, like that's the whole point of this. And the whole point is to realize we're all one and to have this awakening and come together in unity. And like by doing that, you're literally furthering the separation and the divide and the conflict and the old energies that we're moving out of. Like you're staying stuck in that. So,
Right.
people need to realize like even if you disagree with somebody or it's like you got to let that go, you got to let they're on their journey, you're on your journey. And you can like if you feel like you need to go to that person privately and have a conversation, do it. But when we start attacking each other and saying like I'm right, you're wrong, I'm better than you, my information's the only correct, blah blah blah, like that's when you're off track. And that's when you're only like hurting yourself and further perpetuating that energy that like we're all moving, the planet's moving out of that energy. And if you're not frequency specific, you're going to go somewhere else. So if you're planning on sticking around, like you got to start getting out of that energy.
Right.
I very much agree, and I'll just add one little thing to that. And a lot of you guys know this. I have spent a considerable amount of time over the past few years calling out people in that very same manner and talking a lot of shit and saying, "Oh, well, this is fake or this is real or that's not fake." I'm gonna be totally real with everyone here. It hasn't really gotten me anywhere. Seriously, it
Yeah.
really has not. It didn't really help me. It didn't benefit me. It didn't bring numbers to anything. It didn't improve my quality of life. What it actually caused me to do was to get caught up in this entanglement of, everyone else's bullshit versus my own form of, the very same thing. And it's a thing that I have had to consciously put to rest because every single day I see, the great figureheads and the, disclosure celebrities, the niche internet micro celebrities of the
Yeah.
disclosure world. And it's like everyone has their own version of info supremacy. Everyone knows, well,
Right.
this is how it really is, and this is what really happens. And no, that's not how it goes. And I think that very idea keeps a lot of people, especially like me, who in the beginning of this journey, when I literally stood face to face with a reptilian being in my apartment in Los Angeles, literally
Wow.
touched him in the face. And I couldn't tell that to anyone because if I did, all the secret space program people would be like, "Oh no, that's not how it happens. And if you actually met a real Draco, you would have
You're a
shit your
liar.
pants, or you wouldn't even have lived." And I'm like, well, honestly, I
Right.
felt like I wasn't gonna live, and I thought I was gonna have a heart attack, but honestly, they've come back many times since, especially in regard to the information that I received from this. And one of their messages was that we need to develop greater discernment with how we choose what timeline we're on, how we decide what is true and what is not true. And one of the things they wanted us to do, amongst a very important thing, which is gender solidification. Like, really, they were like, men need to be men, women need to be women. That's a thing that your
Mhm.
species needs to understand right now. But
Yeah.
alongside that, one of the other things they were saying is you need to develop greater discernment and learn to look deeper into what you think is true, because we're twisting ourselves off into another, yet another splintered timeline. And anyway, I'll pause there because I'll go on and on about that stuff. But
I mean it's all important, but I think the
Yeah.
beautiful message here is that for one, you were able to look in the mirror and at least have the self-awareness to understand and recognize what you had that realm that you were swimming in, right? And you were able to pull yourself out of it, and that's beautiful. You're self-aware enough to recognize it, honor it, and have the humility to self-correct, pull yourself out, and admit it on camera, like, hey, I did that. That's a huge step, and that's a beautiful example in growth and development, and what we should all be doing.
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. So bravo for that.
Right.
Because it's way easier to just keep, you know, stay in the same cycle. It's way easier to just keep going with that and then dig in harder. You know, I see
Right.
that happen so much where it's like, instead of like taking the opportunity to do that and looking inward and like self-evaluating and be like, where am I getting off track here? Like, is this actually helpful? Is this helping me or anyone else? It's way easier to just keep blaming everyone else for
Double down,
things,
yeah.
double down, and like keep going harder down that road, and rather than taking self-responsibility for
I
yourself.
agree.
Right.
And you see what happens to those that like stay on it. They turn toxic, they turn angry, they turn bitter, you know, they turn against everyone
Right.
else, and it ends up becoming this like, damn, bro, really?
Right.
You're
Right.
like, all right, dude, I guess.
Usually coupled with rage quitting the internet or the community.
Right.
Right.
I've already
And a
rage quit
fury of
everything in
rage.
my life so many
But
times now. I'm like, there's nothing else for me to quit. I got to stick with it now, you know?
I mean,
Right.
when somebody does that, we're witnessing avoidance. They're avoiding something within themselves, and after you're projecting, and you're trying to find someone else to blame something on about that you're not happy with about yourself, and that's
Mhm.
ultimately what we're looking at. So we have to hold space, and everybody's learning their lessons. But I do want to kind of get back into the QHHT session, and I'm sorry we got so far off track there, but
I
Tangent.
always go way off track, so it's all
right.
good.
So let's get back to it. I don't maybe you can help us remind us where you were at, and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, I will say one thing. Like along with that, you know, splintered off kind of timeline, you know, like I said, one of the messages was that, you know, we needed to be much more decisive about what we understood to be true and to push a lot deeper. And then along with that came, which is a very, very big topic. It's one of the things that I believe is part of my current assignment to talk about. It's very kind of all over the place right now. You guys just had somebody on the show a couple weeks ago talking about, or yeah, I think a couple weeks ago talking about the same thing, and that is the energies of the reptilian collectives and the manner in which what some people even call the and everyone cringes from this term. Get ready, the Orion group, which is made up of a lot more than just reptilian Draco. Actually it's thousands upon thousands of species and beings and worlds, but within that, one of the soul resonances that I was shown that I carry was from a number of the reptilian collectives, and this was something that had been confirmed to me, honestly, I think in 2023 through a very, very one of honestly the most talented and real reptilian channelers I've ever met. This guy Anthony from Canadian Awareness, and he was able to confirm for me something that showed up in the QHHT session. That is that a lot of us right now are also linked with a group of flesh and blood reptilians. I can tell you literally where they're from. I can tell you the exact constellation in which they live and the links that they have to the inner earth. But they're a force that is willing and ready to work with humans on a greater level. And I know everyone's talked about this now, so it's way out there. Some people can't stomach it, and they're like, what? I can't take that. For other people, it's like, yes, I'm willing to understand that there's a lot of positive reptilian energies. And so they're very, very active amongst a number of us. And one of the things I had been shown, which is going to make some people cringe out there, get ready, you guys in the chat, was that they had been helping me do a lot of the work that I do in psychic work and healing work. And in that session, there was a being that came through that called himself the Doctor. And the Doctor is a literal flesh and blood physical Draco reptilian that lives in the inner earth. He is much, much older than a lot of the other ones. In fact, he's not really respected in the ways that a lot of other reptilian kind of elders are respected, because one of his soul resonances and one of his callings is to connect with humans. And so he gets a lot of shit. He got a lot of kickback from the other beings because they're like, these are the worst for you to ever, you know, like work with. They're going to drag you down. They're going to just, you know, he got a lot of kickback from it. But what I had been shown was that it was part of a group that was connecting with myself and many others. And really, like the messages that they had was that we needed to toughen up. We need to strengthen our physical bodies, that men need to embrace their masculinity. And it's funny because that was a thing that I had been doing at the time, so it kind of fit in. But what they also showed me, it was a very important thing, and haven't really talked about it publicly, was that there's a group of reptilians from the Telescopium constellation. There's a lot of people out there are gonna, drop a bunch of, ET names and systems and throw them out there, half-ass, and hardly anyone can tell you where they're actually from. And so you guys can look this up out there, open up another screen, look up Telescopium. That is one of the number one places through which a flesh and blood race of reptilian beings that are currently existing on an alternate timeline are connecting with us on a regular level. And I was shown exactly how they do it. Number one, there's a number of castes within this society. They're primarily warriors. Honestly, for most of us, they're hyper negative. We would not be able to stay really in a room with them. We wouldn't really, it's not because they're evil. It's because their vibration is fundamentally incompatible with the human body. It's not a
Right.
thing that we can really handle. But within the many castes within their society, within this reptilian group and the Telescopium constellation, there's also a priest caste. And the priest caste or the mystic caste, what they do is they will sit in these circles and they will open up a portal in the center of this ring. And what they do is just like we did in those, breakaway civilizations, they literally just watch you. They send
Right.
out this signal, and what they do is vibrate a little piece of your DNA. Sometimes it's a whole strand, sometimes it's a segment. I know everyone out there talks about DNA. None of us truly understand it, myself included. One thing we do know is it holds the records of every life, every civilization, every being, every piece of our consciousness is represented within these strands. And what they do is they activate little pieces of the DNA like they're flipping through channels on a TV, going like, okay, let's find this one, let's find that one. And what I was shown is they had been watching many of us, and they had been attempting to connect with us. And they don't, show up in your room and go, you're going to work with me. They absolutely do not do that, because they completely understand the nature of free will and the many agreements that we have with other beings. And they still agree not to violate that. But for some people, they will show up in a very, very big way. And it's not really an assignment, it's a choice that I took upon myself, was to begin to speak about that a lot more regularly. If you guys want, I can tell you the name of the beings if you would like. It's a very strange name.
Yeah.
Is that
Bring it
okay
on.
to say that here? Because previously it was a thing that I would not say publicly. Although
You're talking about the name of one of these reptilian
oh yeah,
beings?
these are the guys from the Telescopium constellation. They have a very strange name. It's not a human utterance, so it sounds really crazy. But the reason why it's important is because it's a calling card. And you can meditate upon this vocal sound or this name, and you can reach out to these beings. I don't necessarily recommend that everyone do it unless you feel secure within your own ability to sit with fear, because they can create fear in the body just by you connecting with them. And it won't be a specific fear, it just awakens genetic fear in your body. It's one of the barriers that we have toward
Yeah.
connecting with their energy. And so anyway, to make a long story short, I'm going to say the name of this race. It sounds so weird, get ready. It's Nishta.
That sounds like the tongue from Halo. You ever watched the Halo series on Paramount
Actually, I
Plus?
think I played every Halo game, honestly. I never watched the series, but I
The
You should watch.
the reptilians in the new Halo series, that's exactly how they talk. What you just said. It
it's
sounds
guttural. It's like guttural. And
yeah.
so
Well, that's confirmation. There's,
Yeah.
that
No, there's
means
so much
they're
disclosure.
disclosing
Yeah, there's so
real
much
disclosure.
disclosure in those series. Yeah.
So I'll say it again for those of you guys out there that want to use this as a calling card. Be careful if you do. Careful what you wish for. But it's spelled kind of like Nishkt, but it's nish. It's like this guttural back of your throat kind of utterance. And that's basically their energy signature. And so I'm going to be real. Some of you guys out there will do a meditation later, and you'll connect with that. And you'll notice when you chant that word inside your body will heat up instantly. Some of
Right.
you guys will hear me say it here, and your literal body will heat up. Because one of the things that they do when they start to actually kind of, interface with your body is they shake everything up, and all kinds of weird wounds will come to the surface, and everything that's blocking you from being able to interface with that aspect of yourself will be shoved up into your, like into your world, which was honestly a thing that had been happening to me for years. It was like as soon as I would try to, interface with these beings, all of my old wounds, all of these old triggers, all of these old things would come up. And I was shown that's because that's a layer of energy that will sit around our organs. And it's very important to mention that, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people in our soul group are dealing with right now, aside from things like implants and blockages and chakra stuff in the body, is that as we go through this shift into fourth density, we our organs will also expand on a non-physical level. And one of the places where the majority of blockages will sit inside the body is actually in the energy around the organs themselves, which is an important thing to mention. For those of you guys that want to find me through our website later, we have a list of basically command phrases that we use to open up those energies throughout the body, and they create dilation of energy centers. So there's a lot of people out there that are having a hard time making, contact with their own guides, that are having a hard time opening up psychic abilities, people that are, especially if you're having a hard time going out of the physical body. One of the things that we can do is begin to open up the layers of energy around our organs, and it actually creates much different lightness within the body. And anyway, I'll go on and on about it, but I will pause there for the time.
So I think it's important to understand, to remind everyone that we all hold reptilian DNA within us, and
Yeah.
reptilian and mammalian DNA. And Max Spears used to talk about that was done intentionally by our genetic masters, the people who created us, that they they made us with two opposing types of races. Mammalian and reptilian DNA doesn't go together. So that's why we're always at odds with ourselves, all the time. That's what he said. But what's interesting is him and James Casbolt used to talk about the inner Earth reptilians quite often, but they talked about it James Casbolt talked about it as from a whistleblower standpoint, and I believed his story, and I still believe his story, and I do think that they were privy to some information that's very legitimate, and they did talk about the inner Earth reptilians quite a bit.
Yeah. They're definitely out there. I'm gonna be real, because I know there's some people out there that are gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna, do like a meditation with that name and chant it over and over again. It'll create effect in your body. It'll create effect in your life. And I'm not so naive, to think that it can only be good. I think that's one of the most egotistical mistakes that we can make when we enter this world of, understanding who and what we are, is that, we will, mistake the fact that, yes, these races are also responsible for, the annihilation of thousands of species and thousands of worlds. And it's a very, very murky road, I think, when we start to actually interface with other versions of ourself. And for me, that's literally what it was, is that there was another version of myself that was a reptilian existing within that society. Also one, in the inner earth. It wasn't really a version of me, but it was one who had chosen to, be a part of a human life cycle for a lot of us. And I think when we are, taking a full spectrum, like approach to understanding what it is we're doing in this world, we cannot ignore it. I think it
Right.
is a grave, grave, mistake to be like, oh, well, they're all evil. That's crazy. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, I know you guys have been talking about
I
that a lot lately, so I'll leave it there. But
I think the important message there is the gender confusion that they're talking about. And what did you call it? The
gender polarization and solidification, if you want to get
solidification. Right.
totally specific. And it was really that they wanted us to specifically strengthen our bodies. They needed us to, become men. Women needed to become women. They were shown, and yeah, I know there's going to be some people out there that, they're going to want to cancel you as soon as you say that. It's like, what? Oh my
Well,
God.
Yeah.
You
You're a
know,
bigot. Yeah.
right,
it's
right.
what's I have
Like,
a friend of mine is she sells Brazilian wax packages, right, to people, and the training, she had to take a training course, and they have new anatomy models for all the different genders and the trannies and all the stuff, and they have to learn like the new body parts and what to call them, and you have to, when you're selling to these people, you have to like be very careful on how you word things. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like the whole gender identity has been hijacked, right? And there's confusion, and I think that is ultimately like Max Spears used to talk about, like how do you take over a civilization? You get rid of the alpha male, right? And that's what they're doing. And I understand why they're indicating that we need to bring that alpha male energy back,
Mhm.
because without that, then they're just going to steamroll us, you know?
Well, that's right. You nailed it. It's about energy. It really has less to do with the biology. It has to do with the divine masculine energy and
Right.
the divine feminine energy. So they attack both. But what is the masculine energy? That's the protective energy. That's the it takes action, it's protective, it's grounding, it's it's yeah, it's providing a container and a safe environment for you know, for everyone and for the divine feminine. And the divine feminine is obviously, the nurturing and the more spiritual and the love energy and all that. But it's like without that masculine energy, your protection's gone, your containment's gone. So of course they're gonna I mean, but the divine feminine too, so there's attack on both, but like, yeah, absolutely. Like on the more surface level, yeah, you're gonna attack the men first and you're gonna attack the masculine energy first.
Right.
And then it just like everything just kind of comes apart at the seams there.
Right.
And then you like families, like that's why they attack the nuclear family, because you do that, all of society goes with it, because that's the foundation is like the individual, then the family, unit, and then you no longer have communities that loving, unified communities
And
that are strong and that will not be controlled, because that's how that works.
right.
So to
It's such
control,
a
you got to break that down.
and it's such a deep topic, because what they do, also destroying the family unit, they're trying to replace, and I see this among people that I know. They try to replace the father with the government.
Yeah, the
There's
state.
incentives for mothers to be single, because they're paying for their children, their groceries, their schooling, the child support is crazy. Like there's incentives for the mothers to be single, and they're doing. I see people in certain communities actually, like, I think they're intentionally leaving the father so they can get those incentives and not have to work and not have to do anything but just sit there and get everything handed to them while they raise their children.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's really interesting to see play out.
I agree. It's a very strange time on Earth. In fact, I think it's one of the craziest we've all endured so far. Well, it is obviously, and yet
Yeah.
there's nowhere else I would rather be. A lot of you guys have heard me say that. Earth
Right.
in 2024 is the number one place you want to be right now. Where else, do we get to go through this strange, process of, the world turning on its head? And of course, I know everyone knows we're about to have the, what is it? The like apocalypse.
Right.
So
Eclipse
the apocalypse
apocalypse.
is coming up on, April 8th. For those of you guys that don't know,
Right.
that's also
Right.
about to happen. But
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It is a place to be. Where else is it a gamble every time you eat? Like, you don't know what you're putting in your mouth anymore.
Well,
Like, is this gonna kill me or not? I don't know. Let's
right.
try it.
Like
yeah,
there's a lot of focus on the negative and the chaos and the craziness, but people forget like that the whole reason that's happening in the first place is because we're shifting into the new,
yeah,
but everyone wants to focus on the negative and look how crazy and horrible everything is. Yeah, because the old is breaking down, and like there's that chaos phase that we're in right now of the old moving into the new, and the old's trying to hang on for dear life and trying to cling on to us as as many people as possible on its way out. And then you have all the people that are at these lower frequencies. Well, you have the planets moving into a higher frequency, but you have people that are very much staying stuck at these lower frequencies, and they're not ready to move up. So what happens there? They start going nuts. They start becoming very agitated, very angry, very start lashing out, blah blah blah. What do we see happening now? That exact thing. Well, all the people in these institutions, they're doing the same thing, right? And they're trying desperately to hang on to their power and control. So they're trying to do everything they can. And so you
Right.
have all these they're trying to start wars, and they're doing false flags and everything else. So but
about to
people
have
forget
even.
like
Wait. Somebody
that's
just
all part of the shift. Like we came here for the shift. We were so excited to be a part of the shift. That's why we're here. And like it's not doom and gloom. Like things get crazy, but guys, we're eternal beings. Like you can't be killed. What's there to fear? We came here to
Victitious
experience this.
Victitious just said in the chat, it can't end. We have a conference to go to in May.
Right.
Try it.
We have a conference to go to in May, so
Right,
it can't.
yeah.
The world can't end.
Oh, here we go. I finally opened the chat. Okay, there we go. What's up, everybody? Anyway, I
So,
can now see it if you're talking shit. Anyway, go ahead.
so is there anything else that came up in this session that you
Oh
haven't gotten to
man,
yet?
there was honestly so much, and I guess I'll talk about one other thing. I know I've kind of stuttered and stammered through a lot of this. It's a weird thing to talk
No, it's
about, but
perfect.
one of the things that I was shown along that journey is also a thread that binds many of us together within our soul group, and that is from the Templar orders. And I know for me and a lot of other people, probably you guys as well, there was a stage in our human life cycle journey in which many of us were part of such things, and there's many versions of it. But one of the things that I was shown during those life cycles was that I was part of a group of Templars that actually went on these long voyages across the ocean. We went to other, countries in search of artifacts, just like, they ended up in the Grand Canyon and probably Oak Island and all those other places. But one of the life cycles that I had was when we were sent to South America. Honestly, I think it may have been Ecuador, but that's pure speculation just based on what I intuitively felt. But what had happened there was that we were searching for a reptilian being, or we did not know it was a reptilian being. It was a being that had essentially taken over entire tribes and massive groups of people with one consciousness. And I guess I'll cut to the chase. It was actually a version of me from another timeline. One of the first forms that I had had upon entering this world after becoming a creator being, which a lot of us did. We terraformed and put together pieces of the earth and a number of things like that. There's many people out there that can speak a lot more to that. But what happened later on, and this is a stage that I think a lot of us go through in our incarnational cycles, um, we will incarnate as a consciousness on earth that is essentially non-physical, and it will take the form through people, through like animals, through, and also it can take a physical form. But I had previously incarnated as this disembodied being that actually took entire control of a series of tribes in South America. It wasn't just me, it was others, but we would incarnate into a whole group of people, and we were some of the beings that initially taught them. This is gruesome for some people, about sacrifice and how to generate power from blood and words of power, how to say certain words and to essentially cast spells upon an entire population, which is a thing we're seeing all over the planet right now, right? All of
Mhm.
the world governments are doing a very similar thing. But at this stage of the life cycle, myself and several others, we were called to, venture to this place out in the jungle where our assignment was to kill or capture this being, to understand the nature of what it was doing, and to hopefully bring back some sort of artifact or information that would allow us to harness the power that it had. And when we actually got there, this being had become so powerful that it actually sacrificed thousands of people in this blink of an eye just to escape that place. And it actually fled underground into what eventually became Peru. And now a lot of you guys out there, some of you guys that are familiar with me have been aware of another thing I'd been talking about, which was a group of reptilians that supposedly live underground in that country. They called themselves Morop. I'm going to be real. That is not their name. It's actually an inversion, and it's actually Poram is the actual way if you want to use it. But you guys can look it up. Those of you out there, if you look up capital of friendship in Peru, you're going to see this massive statue of a really crazy looking draconian being, this massive lizard dude. And so, what had happened after those life cycles is those beings chose to begin, number one, incarnating in physical bodies. They stopped the process of inhabiting an entire group of people and influencing them, although there were other beings that kind of stepped in and other forces that took that place. But they actually retired to places within their inner earth underneath that country where they actually begin to, over time, build relationships with the humans. And so this is a fun one, once again, for those of you guys that want to look it up. But what they essentially did was taught us about the gateways between death and life, how to clear non-physical entities, how to ensure that when we left this body, we did not get caught up in what some people call a soul trap, which I'm going to be real, I don't really subscribe to the concept that we automatically get sucked into a soul trap. I think that is a possible reality for some of us based upon pre-existing agreements, but for most of us, it's, in my opinion, for what I've seen doing the work that I do, it's actually kind of a myth. There's nothing wrong with going toward the light. And I love how people always say that and they've never died. So they only know, it's just hearsay. It's like,
Right,
don't
right.
go toward the light, bro. It's
Right.
like, guess what? When you're
Like-
actually dead, you will not even consider that. You will
Right.
see this light open and you will go to it. And for most of us, it's a real and true connection into another world. But for some of us, we would get recycled, and it's a choice we made. And so these beings, the Poramian, I will use that term. That might not be the correct one, but they actually taught us how to bridge the gap between what we would call the automatic reincarnation cycle into empowering ourselves beyond this world. And what's crazy is they are still living their flesh and blood to this very day. They are
Yeah,
absolutely, literally real. And so
I
anyway,
believe that.
it goes
You,
on and on, but
Yeah.
I'll pause there.
you know, what's interesting about the soul trap is that I do think maybe at one time there was something in place that was there to keep us trapped here, right? But I also think that, like you said, we're all just here alive talking about this stuff. No one actually knows. We can only speculate and share stories and all the near death experiences. Like some of those
Right.
people
Those
went
people
to
have
the
not
light,
listened to very many near-death experiencers, obviously,
right?
because I
But
haven't heard a single one talk about the soul trap, and they've all had
But
amazing experiences.
what I do want to say is some information we're coming across on researching for the webinar Illuminati in the music industry,
Oh, nice.
and some information I'm found on the ritual deaths, the ritual sacrifices that we know, like when a certain person dies and is clearly obviously staged. That's, well, for one, they know upon conception when the ritual death will be at age 19, whatever, what's going to happen, whatever. But and what they do, the reason it's a ritual death, a sacrifice, is the purpose of the ritual is to trap the soul. So they can still work with that soul in the astral realm, in the astral plane. So there are traps set up via ritual but they're intentionally set up and the ritual death is planned. It's not happening with everyone, right?
Right, right.
But
I
It's
agree.
not like something out of our control that's just going to inevitably happen,
exactly,
like
but it
try to make
can be
it sound.
created, and it's fascinating that the amount of detail that that's coming forward right now surrounding that and the reality of it.
I very much agree with that. And I guess I'll add one other little thing to it. And some people out there are going to gravely disagree with me. And a lot of you guys that have watched our lives and seen other shows I've done, you've heard me say this exact thing. But everyone says this: I'm never coming back here. I'm not going back to
Yeah.
Earth. I'm never doing this again.
I'm
Guess
never
what?
coming back.
We always come back.
Mhm.
It might not be this time period. It might be 26,000 years in the future. It might be on a whole other dimensional plane. There's multiple different versions of Earth coexisting right now. It is one of the deepest, most sought after honors for beings to incarnate in a physical body. And if you're here on Earth right now, you chose to be here. And yes, some of us get sucked in, like we said, through some path of ritual or a previous, like agreement or contract. That's also real. I very much agree with that. Along with that, I'll add another point that might make it a little bit too much. There's really nothing, and some people are going to hate this as well, because I know there's a bunch of really powerful and important remote viewers that will tell you otherwise. The prison planet idea is a very individualistic construct, and there's some people here that, based upon your path of growth and the catalyst that you agreed to endure in this life, you're going to have a prison planet experience. But the reality is, it is anything but that. It's a choice that we make. And anyway, I don't want to go on and on that stuff, because everybody's an expert nowadays. If you haven't noticed, you watch a
Right.
couple, like YouTube videos, and it's like, now I know
Right.
exactly what's happening. And so I might be one of those people,
I
just
now know
'cause-
everything, and I am
Right.
right.
Well,
I have all the answers.
somebody said in the General Condor 24 in the chat said, "I'm coming back. Where else am I going to get a double cheeseburger?"
Oh yeah. Right.
Right. I mean,
I love
yeah,
that.
I want a
seriously
5D
though,
double cheeseburger.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like, yeah, like I'm never coming back. Like, obviously, it's so easy to have that thought now, and of course, yeah, I don't want to, like, why would you want to come back to another situation like this? I get that, but that's if you stay in that mentality, like you said, it's you chose to be here, and I wholeheartedly believe that we all chose this experience.
From a higher level, from our
Right.
soul's perspective, which is infinitely more expanded than the little 3D
Right.
you with your ego. Because people saying these things are coming from their ego, and that perspective is so tiny. and it thinks it knows everything a lot of times, like we were just saying, but it really knows almost nothing.
I very
So
much
you got to
agree.
connect to your soul, to your higher self, with has that massive perspective, because when you're in that perspective, you see the value of this experience. You see how valuable it is from that perspective, and that's why you choose to come here. But then once you're here, you go into the veil and you forget,
Yeah.
and then you're like, why, you know, everything seems horrible, or it seems like, why
Right.
would I possibly choose to come here? Well, that's
If
why.
I do come back, I'm coming back to an era where we're not paying taxes anymore. That's for sure.
Dude, you can just
Right.
stop now. Just stop now. Watch somebody
I'm,
out there is going to be like,
I know, right? I need to.
there's a way to do it
Oh, I know.
completely like legally. Not that I know how.
But there is a
Not
way. I
that I
know.
figured
But
out how, but
Well,
you
if
can.
enough of us stop paying taxes, what are they going to do? Arrest 30 million plus people? Like,
right. That's
we need to start thinking in these ways. Like, they
I very
only have
much agree.
power and can do things because we give them that power, right?
well, that's
Taxes
why
included.
they're so heavy with the mainstream media and the corporations and the
Right.
infrastructure and pumping it and bombarding us with their way of life because they scare us into thinking there is no way to survive without them, which isn't true. But we all have
No.
to. We all are as a country. We need to unite and grow a backbone. And I mean, like
Right.
we see some of these other
We're the
countries,
ones in charge here, not this tiny, teeny, tiny group of people trying to tell us what we
right?
can and can't do. Right.
Yeah,
Goes
So,
on.
all right,
I
what
very
other kind
much
of weird
agree.
shit you got for us, Matthew?
Well, I will just respond to somebody in the chat. They were like, if this is not a prison planet, how come we can't leave here? Who made you think that you can't leave? Number one is the first thing I would say, because you
Right.
can, and there's a number of ways
You
to do
can.
it. Some of them are not recommended. Obviously, suicide is one way you'll very effectively leave. But we are living in a stage on Earth in which every single living person with a soul, not all of us have souls, but those that do, you will have a very particular ability, and that is something that most of us call out of body travel. It is a thing that every living person can learn how to do. It takes a different form for a number of us. But one of the cool things about the day and age we are living in right now is you are not bound to this physical reality. And I think, without making it too cringe, that is where people like myself come in, because one of the primary things that we've been doing over the past few years, honestly, since 2020, when we started a dedicated program of training people to begin to open up and use their psychic abilities. One of the things we learn is that everyone can do it. It's a very individualistic process, but you're living in a time in which that is a literal reality for you. And if you're one of those people out there that's having a hard time learning how to leave the physical body, let's say you want to astrally project or you want to go out of body, you've understood that it's real. I think it is a right for us to do so. And I think that's one of the ways in which we can begin to experience other parts of the universe and other beings and other consciousnesses in a very safe, attainable way. That I think, yes, will take a lot of work, but it's something everyone can do. And I'll just give a little piece of advice for anyone out there that feels that they're currently really, really stuck in your physical body. Because there's a few places, there's energy centers that will not really close, but they'll kind of fuse up or they'll get stuck in a very small kind of, opening. One of those places is the crown chakra. And so for those of you guys out there that want to learn how to begin moving your consciousness out of the physical body, start working with not only the crown chakra itself, but also the bottoms of your feet. Because what we've discovered over the years is that there's standardized entry and exit points within the human energy body. And I'll just name them really quickly. So hopefully I won't go on a rant. But the top of the head, very, very porous. The bottoms of your feet, also very, very open. Second or thirdly, your temples. You can just stick your fingers there and feel how soft they are. I don't recommend doing it very hard, but that's a really good access point for the mental body, as is when you're programming a human, when you're trying to insert thoughts or feelings or ideas, which is a thing a lot of us are being, given through technology and a number of other things. Behind the ears, incredibly porous, incredibly open, as is under your armpits, in the corners of your groin, and also the perineum right up there, like under your bottom. And so for people that find themselves getting stuck in the physical body, begin working on those areas. If you want to even go one step further, which might be too much info for some people out there, another thing you can do is begin to dedicatedly work with your lymphatic system, especially if you're wondering, like, how come I can't actually perceive spirit? Why can't I understand what my guides are telling me? How do I open up to that version of myself? there's usually a few places on each of us that will get stuck or clogged up. And just over the years, those are places that time and time and time, in fact, literally today, earlier today, for as an example, I was working with a person who had a very, very similar thing right up at the top of the head. And what happens when we have those energy centers closed is we get stuck in old ideas. We get stuck in previous versions of ourselves. We get stuck in belief systems that keep us greatly limited. And so anyway, I'll keep going on and on about it, but anyone
Yeah.
can do it. And so, yeah.
And it's so important because I found myself sometimes getting stuck in an older version of myself, or looking backwards or whatever. I very much agree with you that there are the blockages that are stopping you from connecting and seeing the bigger picture. It becomes a very narrow lens, and it happens. And life is set up to distract us and keep us from opening up and connecting. So I think it's important that you mention all of that and all the ways that you can have that experience and connect. But another thing I'm going to do is um, during the eclipse this year, I'm looking directly at it. I've been watching testimonies and listening to people who've done that, and they say that that is the way you have the ultimate out of body experience. It is one of the most spiritual experiences you can have. And I think that's why they don't want you to look at it. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
one of the most
Yeah.
powerful eclipses this year
Mhm.
yet. And I
I
think it
agree.
could be the most activating down to a cellular level. And that's why they have to create so much fear, because they're trying to hijack that positive experience.
Yeah. Okay. Let me
I
just
think you
comment
nailed
on
it.
that really, really quickly. I'm sorry to make this awkward, but I hope that you're saying you're going to be looking at the eclipse with some kind of lens, like
No,
like
no,
okay.
directly.
Okay. Let me just say one thing on that, because I was watching the show when they were talking about this, and I've heard other people say you should just stare directly at a solar eclipse. My God, you guys, I'm sorry to be that person, but please do not actually do that. It is a literal proven fact that you will burn a hole through the back of your eye. I have worked with people directly, firsthand, face to face. One person in particular, literally great eclipse of 2017, she thought she could stare up at the sun and literally hold her gaze on it, and she became almost permanently blind as a result of that very thing. And so maybe some people can do it. I'm going to be real. Maybe some people out there are so activated and spiritual they can just gaze right into this blazing hot sun, but the fundamental reality of it is that it is actually not good for the human eye. Yes, you'll have an experience. Yes, you'll have this or that, but I recommend using some form of eye filter or like a lens to put over it. Stare at it all you want, but give yourself a chance, because I just have to admit, I do not believe that that is. I think it's gonna hurt. It's gonna. I hope you don't. And if you do, do it for 3 to 5 seconds and then
I
pull
was
your
just
eyes
gonna
away.
Yeah, that's
I was
what
just
I
gonna
mean.
say that. Do it for short bouts. Don't
Yeah,
do it.
that's what I was going to do anyway. Like,
Okay, good. Because I'm like, dude, I
yeah,
don't
I
want to. I don't
well,
want
Yeah.
to
like
hear
Don't
the
do it for
details.
like 5 minutes
like what
or
Jackie
more.
said,
Yeah.
like I've seen videos where people do this and stare at it. But the one testimony I listened to, the guy shared a beautiful story where he stared at it for 20 minutes directly and had the craziest out of body experience. And he said he's
Yeah.
never put the glasses on. I think it's individual. Um,
Yeah.
It's
I'm gonna
Listen to your
probably.
test.
body.
I'm gonna test it out. Like, I'm not gonna like. I'm glad you said that, because I don't want our whole audience to go blind because of something I said.
And
Um,
I might also
That
be
would be bad.
wrong. I'm
right.
gonna be real. I only know what I've experienced and with people that I've worked with, and I'm like, well, damn, careful, but maybe some of us can handle it. So I
Right. I
leave room
mean,
for that. I leave
right.
room
No,
for like maybe you can stare
it's
at it.
important that you brought it up. I actually
But
very
proceed
important.
with caution, and if it starts hurting your eyes, that's when it's time to stop. Just make sure you're
Right.
not forcing. Oh, well, somebody said I can do it, even though it feels like my eyes are being burned out. I'm gonna keep no.
I mean,
Like
it's
listen to
very,
your
what
Yeah.
comes to mind is like being out in the sun when it's kind of cool, breezy out, cool and breezy, and you're getting burned, but you don't realize it. Like, I guess, like you think it's harmless until after the fact, but your eyes, obviously, it's something different. So anyway,
Yeah.
um, do
Give it
whatever
a
you
shot
feel
though.
like,
Try
do
it.
whatever you
right.
feel like you
Yeah.
intuitively should do during the eclipse. Don't listen to me. But I
Yeah.
am
I
Don't
gonna
say
listen to
three.
me either.
I'll say yeah,
Go
three to
ahead,
five,
Tyler.
3 to 6 seconds is you're probably safe.
at a time. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
going to I'm gonna explore. I'm gonna see.
I will as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm in Florida, so we don't get it full blast. But I'm also gonna be looking at it too. So don't, you know what I mean? I'm not saying don't, whatever you do, don't stare into the sun. Just use your judgment, I guess, But
Right.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, the chat is killing me. Anyway, yeah,
We don't
so
want anyone to sue us. Over
right.
you never
It's
know. Well,
that
here,
they
let me
became
just let
blind
me
from staring at.
Let me
Journey to
just kind of
Truth
mention
said,
why I'm even saying this. I'm sorry to cut you off, which is a little bit of a story that some people should hear. This actual person who was the one that had their eyes burned from the eclipse was a client that I had worked with, who, not to go back into the reptilian thing, but this was one, it's a big part of
Yeah.
it. During her experience with that, she was a touring musician, and she was on a European tour after burning her eyes. And what happened was she lost vision right in the frontal area of her eyes, meaning she just got this black dot that took over about, the majority of her vision, but she could still see from her peripheral and from the corners of her eyes. So this was a person that had retrained themselves after having this eye injury from the sun to still be able to read. They could still read, they could still have converse, they could still navigate their world through this side eye kind of thing that they would do. And she had explained one of the reasons why she had come to seek like a session was because on this tour in Europe somewhere, she had run into a group of flesh and blood reptilian hybrids. And they were a very, 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 very different type, not like Draco reptilians, kind of serpent-like, very smooth skin. And what she claimed was that they actually had a thing that they would wear around their neck, and it was something that looked like a little black cube. And the little black cube would actually open up. It would sort of open up. They could fold it out. And essentially, what it did is that it would actually cause this holographic image to go over their faces. And what they were able to do is implant thoughts in people's heads, insert images in people's mind's eye, take like control of certain people and certain things. And she had actually engaged in a multi-month relationship with one of these beings, and watch them using this little thing over and over and over again. They would sort of open it up and fold it out. And I don't know, she didn't know what they were doing with it. I think in kind of hindsight, I think they might have assumed that maybe because of her blindness, she wasn't able to see what it was they were doing. Yet at the same time, I think if they were so tuned in, they knew exactly that she knew. And I think that was part of the whole idea. But the whole story was that she had been supposedly in a relationship with one of these beings for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And this was the act of, reuniting in this life. And her whole idea was not trying to get rid of them. It was to understand, did this actually happen? Is
Right.
it even possible? And it definitely is. But a lot of people talk about that black cube, kind of idea. And it's funny to think that there's this group of beings that would actually wear it. And so in the session that we had, he actually showed up. This being literally showed up in a kind of like a weird puff of smoke. Some really good people out there are going to get an image in their mind's eye. It was a very smooth skinned raptor-like reptile being. And I honestly think he blocked the majority of the work that we had done in that session. And it was more just to observe and to watch, as if they were saying, like, there's nothing you can possibly do. I have a connection with this being. You don't. You know what I mean? And there's no way we're going to break it. And so anyway, just an interesting
Mm.
kind of aside there, but they're
Yeah,
definitely there.
right. That's
Very interesting.
absolutely fascinating. So so what we're gonna do, guys, is Matthew's gonna pull a few cards for some of the people in the audience, if anybody wants a reading. And we're not gonna go too long, however long I guess Matthew feels comfortable going, and we'll just kind of gauge it. But if anybody wants Matthew to pull a card, well, I guess let us know. And Matthew, do you want them to have a specific question or
Oh,
just
totally. If you want, you can ask a question, or you can just say a general, or you can even do like collective readings if you want to ask about certain things. But for those that are watching, I practice a very particular type of tarot reading. I call it multidimensional tarot. That's not to say that you can reinvent the world of tarot, because you're going to find a lot of people say, I do this type or I do that type. I use it a lot more as a diagnostic medium rather than a future, prediction type of thing, which you can certainly do, but I maybe we use it in a little bit of a different angle. But yeah, you can ask
have
anything
you
you want.
Have you, maybe we can do a general reading first and then get to some of the people. Would you feel comfortable pulling a card on the eclipse
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and just kind of doing a reading surrounding that and seeing what comes through?
Totally. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So I'm going to kind of glitch out for a second. For those of you guys that have seen me do this, we have access points in our auric field. And so I tend to go up and to the left. And I honestly encourage everyone out there, as you learn to open up your psychic abilities, you're going to find that there's a direction in which you can aim your energy that allows you to interface with guides and spirit on a little bit of a different level. So the question is about the eclipse, just so I understand. Is that correct?
Right. Just a
Okay.
general reading on, I guess, what to expect or the energies, whatever.
Okay, cool. And so I know there's like a delay, but this will be very helpful for those of you guys out there. When you hear my voice, you're going to take a deep breath in as a group. I know it'll all happen in different moments. We can do it now, breathing in and breathing out. As we honor all those of you currently guiding us in this stage on Earth in the year 2024 down here in physical bodies, we just ask what can be made aware, what can we know, what can be given about this eclipse coming up on April 8th of 2024. And we're going to see this live in the moment. I'm not one of those people that pulls cards and goes, let's see. It's like we will pull this together in the now moment. In 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, here we go. We got a 2 of Pentacles. And so there's going to be some people out there that know what this is and others won't. When this energy shows up, let's say in conjunction with an eclipse, some smart people will look at it and go, well, we got one thing in one hand and one in the other, which is very true. A 2 of Pentacles is what we would call a soft crossroads moment that appears in one's life. It could also be on a collective level. Why do I say a soft crossroads? Because when you have a 2 of Pentacles, you don't actually have to make a decision. You're being offered a decision. You're being offered a chance to drop one version of reality, one version of yourself, one version of an understanding, and hold on to another one. Or if you choose, you can maintain both worlds, both selves, both outcomes, both timelines. And it's kind of like saying you can have your cake and eat it too, which is a weird idea for some people, but 2 of Pentacles literally tells you that you're coming to a crossroads, and if you choose, you can change everything about your current world. And so what are the Pentacles? So when we say what would we be changing with this, it's what you're manifesting. It's the nature of the physical body. It's the way you receive energy in this world, the way you connect with the physical earth. That's the world of Pentacles. So when this shows up in your life, yes, you can make a big decision coming April 8th. You can choose a new timeline. You can choose a new aspect of yourself. I think that's the thing that a lot of us are doing right now. I encourage everyone to, at some stage of their human journey, begin to choose a new character and allow yourself to transform. But the whole kicker with this is that you don't really have to. I mean, you could, and you can imagine what would happen when you drop one of those pentacles. You will lose your balance. You are going to fall off the tightrope, meaning that for some people, it signals a great upset, which I think plays into the individual nature of the many timelines that are coalescing and kind of colliding as we hit this eclipse alignment. Some of them are going to be destroyed. Some of them are going to meld together. Some of us are going to make a choice to enter a new stage. And whichever one you do, it's great. It's fine. You will have an upset, but just to know that if you decide not to make a choice, you're going to go a lot slower than everyone else. It's like you're going to have to maintain a very delicate balance in your world. So it is a time in which some people will go through an ego death or a transformation. And to me, it's a good thing. But anyways, I will
Yeah.
pause
And
there.
there's a literal flying ship flying past the sun, so we can expect some
Oh, yeah.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Honestly, I actually believe that is a realistic thing. I think there's going to be a number of sightings, whether they're, like government craft, whether there's, ETs, whatever it may be. One thing I do not buy into is the idea that we've signed ourselves up for an apocalypse timeline. I also don't agree that we've signed ourselves up for anything looking like a nuclear, full on World War III.
Right.
Technically, we're literally in it already, but it's not fought through bombs. And so it's going to be
Right.
a little bit of a way that it's going to play out a little differently. But honestly, guys, this is a good thing. If you've been waiting to make a big decision in your life, you can use this April 8th alignment as a time in which you can do that. You can drop a piece of yourself and pick up a new one. And a lot of you guys already know this, but when these eclipses happen, you have a direct, line, like a communication port to what some people call galactic center, which is really just a really cringe term for the source energy that guides us in this life. And you will have a direct interface with it. So I'd say use it wisely. And I'll pause
Beautiful
there.
reading.
I'll go on forever.
Beautiful reading.
Yeah,
So let's go
beautiful.
to, I'm scrolling back up in the chat to try and find the first person that said they wanted a reading. And it looks
That's
like
fine.
Allison Kessler said,
Okay.
reading, please. But no, nothing else. So I guess we'll just assume it's a general reading.
Okay, cool. You said it was Allison Kessler. Okay, I found you in the chat. What's up, Allison? You'll see me making some weird expressions because I'm off camera now. So I'm looking at the chat. Thank you, Allison Kessler. She didn't have a question, but we'll go ahead and pull a card. I'll just say this as I'm getting ready for it. I am an advocate of heavy shuffling. I think when we are developing our psychic abilities, when we're awakening these things in ourselves, we need to greatly randomize the energy and really mix up things that we're working with. So if you're a person out there learning to read tarot, number one, you can go follow our channel over on YouTube. We do a lot of, tarot stuff, but also you can just get a deck and start familiarizing yourself with the cards. And I'm going to be real. When you get that tarot deck, some of you guys aren't going to like this. You know that little book that comes with it? Get rid of
Yeah.
it. Throw it out. Never, ever, ever look at it. Seriously. No,
Yeah,
for real. Don't ever look
I
at it.
believe you. Yeah.
Create a relationship with the cards. And honestly, they'll show themselves to you in a very different way. But anyway, for Allison Kessler, what does she need to know? Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Okay, you got a Page of Swords. Allison Kessler, this is a time in your life in which you are in a very new cycle. Whenever a page shows up, that's literally what they're telling you. They're like, you're in a new cycle. And what kind of a cycle is it? Well, the swords, you guys, swords are our words, our communication. They're the look on your face. They're your body language. They're the outfit that you wear. They're the way you look when you walk in the room. They're everything about your communication. And when you have a Page of Swords, number one, you're in a new era. You need to recognize that. But it is a new era of self-expression. And so you need to, I'm going to say this very openly. You need to start saying shit. You need to be real. You need to speak up. Everyone has seen a little kid somewhere. This is a thing that, my son did, when he was a little kid. And we were in a grocery store and I remember he looked at this guy and he was like, Dad, why is that guy so fat? And you're like, but it was true, right? It was
Right.
true.
Right.
Page of Swords will say what everyone else is thinking that nobody else is willing to say. So I think it was for Allison, you really do have authorization, maybe even a necessity to start saying those things that you hold back. Yes, you're going to embarrass yourself. That's part of the path for the Page of Swords. You're going to get mixed up and go, oh God, no, wait, I didn't actually mean that. That's necessary. That's how you will develop and open the throat chakra, which if you want to get technical, and I will pause after this because I'll do a 1 card reading for like 20 minutes straight, but that's a theme for everybody out there, you guys. One of the things we've been noticing for the past few years is that we're in a collective activation of certain energy centers within the body. And it's big throat energy, as evidenced by all the people that are starting YouTube channels and speaking up and talking about their experiences. That's what happens when you awaken that part of you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's time to speak, Allison, and good luck out there.
All right, Allison, you better start a podcast.
Maybe, maybe she will. Maybe
Uh, who's next? Crystallizer said,
Whoa,
"Yay, reading for me, please."
okay. Crystallizer. Does she have a? Oh wait, I'm gonna try to find her in the chat here. Here we go.
You have to scroll back up. It was underneath
It's okay.
Allison's.
I don't even know where it is. It's all good. So crystallizer. She didn't have she didn't have a question. Okay. Thank you for entertaining all this bizarreness. It's kind of one of the only things I know how to do, but this is for crystallizer. What does she need to know? Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and boom. Crystallizer, you got something even cooler. Damn. Okay, you got a Knight of Cups. This is a very particular message, you guys. It probably goes far beyond Crystallizer or the person that calls himself Crystallizer on the internet. Knight of Cups is an emotional being on an emotional journey. One of the main drivers of the emotional realm. What do I mean by that? The knights in the world of tarot, they're the ones that actually go out there and do the stuff. They're the ones that go on the missions. They're the ones that have to do the dirty work. And sometimes it's violent, sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes they're saving the day. But Knight of Cups is the operator. He's a tier 1 operator in the emotional realm. And so when you have this card in your life, you need to begin diving into the deepest depths within yourself, which is where this guy does really well. If he's willing to dive down into that stormy sea, you know, underneath him, you're going to discover things. You're going to activate things. You're going to realize deep truths about yourself, things that would not have been made apparent if you were existing on the surface of the daily world, which is also, I gotta be real, that's also where Knight of Cups does very well. Everyone has been like this in their own life in some place, or you've known someone. The Knight of Cups is a type of person that can exist alongside many different people. They can exist on a surface level. They don't really go that deep, but they can kind of mix and do well with others. And what happens is that as a result, the world doesn't really know them. People that have big cups energy, they don't really get known by the world. We only see little pieces of them. So for, I think it was Crystallizer, it's time to delve into the deepest depths of your emotional self and bring back a message, bring back a memory, bring back knowledge, because that's how you're going to create a much deeper series of relationships in your life, which is kind of where Knight of Cups suffers. He's surface level with a lot of people when he needs to go way deeper than everyone else. But it's hard because people that have big cups energy, you're going to be too much, you're going to be too emotional, you're going to be too intense, you're going to be too moody, too this, too that. It's that kind of comes with the territory. And this guy's a lot of things. He's very extreme. He's not as extreme as Knight of Swords, but he's a big deal in the emotional realm. And so anyway, I'll pause there. Thank you, Crystallizer.
Big deal in the emotional realm.
Oh no, he is for real. Yeah.
I love it. So really quick before we go on to the next one, where can people book an official session with you? I know, but can you let our audience
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So this is the only work I do, you guys, in the entire world. I am blessed that I've been able to do this. For some reason, I've been one of those people that I've never had to make long-winded videos or do, you know, like advertisements on Instagram. For some reason, Spirit just kicked in and they've been helping us tremendously. And so, it's the only work I do. You can find me at rememberyourmission.com. It's a little bit full right now. I think we have our schedule's pretty filled up until late April right now. But yeah, feel free. For those of you guys that have questions, you can reach me there. You can book a session there, a number of things. But
So rememberyourmission.com. You can go book a session. And I guess the big elephant in the room is, have you remembered your mission?
honestly, I believe I have. That was one of the biggest things for me that took place in 2017, where I was, you know, sitting in my backyard, literally in tears. You know, I had gone through this crazy awakening journey. My crown chakra had been ripped open. I was moving through portals in my ceiling in the morning, not understanding what a portal was, going outside of my body unwillingly, you know, connecting with people's energy. I would see people at work and be drawn into a memory of them as children. It was so bizarre that it took me until summer of 2017 when I was standing in the backyard of my house, and there was these beings or these presences around me, and they it sounds cringe to some people, but it is literally true. They said, Matthew, you have a mission. It is time to remember. And even in that moment, I did not know what it was. It took me until age 40 to understand that I was supposed to do this very work that we are talking about right now. Prior to that, I had been many things. None of them really ever worked. I got to be real. I'd done a lot of stuff. None of it really ever stuck until that period came in for me and everything switched. So, you know, I know you kind of mentioned in somewhat of a humorous way, but I believe that out of everyone I know, and a lot of us have also done the same thing, I definitely have, as evidenced by this weird thing that keeps us going. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because we get ignored by by a lot of people in our soul group, but somehow spirit keeps us going. And so I'm very
Right.
grateful for that. But anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I was half joking, but I really I really was
Okay.
curious. So I've kind of lost track of the chat here. There's so many people. We're not going to get to
Grab a random
everybody.
one. Grab a
Yeah,
random.
we're going to do a random one. I think I saw Katie Rains. Katie Rains wanted to pull general reading.
Yeah,
That's
we
I
can
know
do
I
that.
saw it earlier. Um,
80 Rains. Yeah, we can do that. That name feels familiar. Maybe we've spoken before. Did they have a question? It was general.
I think it's general.
Okay. For Katie Rains. Well, okay, I'll just say this from the start. Every now and then I do this and there's no card that comes out. It's actually a body reading. So it feels like you have a lot of lung energy. Lung energy is regrets. It can be sadness from others. It can be emotions that are lodged within the body that can at times keep you a little bit separate, a little bit closed down, a little bit yeah, melancholy, we could say. And I might be totally wrong, but every now and then, as soon as I angle myself at a person's energy field, I'll get a sensation. And for some reason, Katie Rains, we get lungs for you. And I say this with respect. Every now and then, that just means you need to cry. And I really, though, because lungs will hold tears that we have not let out. It doesn't have to be sad tears, hateful tears, doesn't matter. It's the idea that we will need to purge a force of emotion out of our body. When we do, you'll have a very, very different layer of emotional sovereignty, and you'll find you're a lot less affected by things from the past. And
So,
so,
so
go ahead.
she said, around my dad, if possible, for the
Okay.
reading.
Okay, around dad. Yeah, totally.
Her dad passed away last week. I'm sorry, Katie.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That explains
condolences.
the lung energy. Whoa. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry to
First
hear.
off, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, but that explains lung energy. It's grief and sadness that we'll hold on to. And a lot of people have heard me say this, but you can think of lung energy like, I know this is going to sound dumb to some of you guys, like cobwebs in the corners of your ceiling. Everyone has them. Eventually, one day you look up there and you're all, oh yeah, they are there. And what happens is it'll be emotions that lodge themselves in the body because we haven't fully released them. And so, anyway, before I go on and on, this is for Dad, for Katie Rains. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Whoa, damn, you got a really cool card, Katie. Man, all right. So if we wanted to make this a message from your father, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Truth be told, I'm not really the type of medium that works with a lot of disincarnated people. My wife's a lot better than that. She interfaces with them effortlessly. I tend to do it through different methods, but this is the star, okay? And when you have the star in your life, you need to understand that what's happening right now, maybe within the spectrum of your dad passing, these are things that happen for you, not to you. And when the star is out, understand that whatever event you're in, this is something that was agreed upon long, long ago. In fact, some of us believe that the star denotes events that we agree upon to endure or experience alongside others prior to being born. We say, okay, you're going to do this role and I'm going to do that role, and you're going to be dad and I'm going to be me, or, whatever it is. And we're going to go down into the earth game. And of course, when you do, you go through the amnesia layer, you forget everything and you have to figure it all out. And one of the ways that we have to help us discern those things is through, things like tarot and other modalities. But when you have the star, that spirit literally telling you there was absolutely no way you could avoid this. It doesn't matter if you go right, left, up or down, diagonal, the star is going to happen. And when it happens, it's for a very specific purpose. Number one, I believe your dad's going to be serving as a spirit guide for you. Once he goes through his own after death process, which can sometimes take a couple weeks, sometimes it can take a couple months, sometimes it's 5 seconds, and they're back on the earth plane doing important work. But the whole mission behind the star, Katie, is that it is meant to remind you specifically, that you are a bridge between the spirit world and the physical world. The star holds a trait with only one other card in the entire world of tarot, and that is temperance, which doesn't matter in the moment, but you'll notice that in both of those cards, you're bridging the elements. For those of you guys that can see this, she has 1 foot in the land and 1 foot in the water, and then she has her head in the stars. And so you're on a path of destiny right now. And the more you can embrace what's going on in your world, whether it be loss, whether it be activation, whether it be joy, it's going to lead you into a whole new era. So honestly, this is a beautiful thing to receive, and I hope it finds you well, and hang in there. Boom.
That was beautiful. And yeah,
Yeah.
definitely hang in there, Katie.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I agree 100%. Like it's happening for you, not to you. And that's a huge reminder for everyone out
Yeah.
Yeah.
there.
Can I just
Um,
say one other thing about all this stuff? This is a message that needs to get passed on before we go.
sure.
One of the things that I've been tasked with doing over the past few years, and which will likely, continue into the future, is helping people understand really simple ways in which they can begin to open up these abilities that, a lot of us are constantly working with these days. And if you're watching this show, there's a great likelihood that you're one of those people out there that has come to an understanding over the past few years that you're feeling energy very differently. You're feeling the energies of others very differently. Your dreams have changed, your desires have changed, your direction in life has changed. And while it's not necessarily the same thing for everyone, we're living in a time on Earth, like I said earlier, where everyone has a very specific set of abilities. And I think one of the things that I meant to bring out to the public is that there are specific things you can do to begin opening those up for yourself. I'll mention them very quickly. There's 4 areas that I think people that really want to begin doing spiritual work on a greater level, they really want to open up their abilities. You need to do 4 things. Number 1, everyone's an expert on this part, so I'm not going to go into detail on it, but usually step 1 is you're going to go through a very particular multi-month detox process where you will cleanse parasites out of your body. You will remove heavy metals from your body. You will purify your organs, which was one of the things when I first started having, real ET contact. That was one of the first messages they gave me, which I did not understand. Literally, I was face to face with this mantis being. He was to my left, and they were trying to tell me, "You're not ready for this. You are not ready." And I was like, "Why? Why am I not ready?" And he said three words: purify your body. And I did not understand that until 2017 and 18 when I was already doing this work. And I was like, oh, yeah, you meant detox. And so step 1 is very, very particular type of detox. And everyone's an expert. So find your expert and follow their path. But number 2 is that you will then begin studying some form of divination. It's not that everyone needs to do it. It's not that everyone's going to become a tarot reader or an astrologist, but it's going to give you an avenue in your life to learn how to connect with your spirit guides, which are literally true and literally real. And so what you're going to be doing is learning a path of divination, whether it's tarot, whether it's astrology. I don't necessarily recommend using a pendulum. Some people will cringe when they hear me say that because they rely on them every day, but I'm going to be real with you guys. Pendulum is the most alterable form of divination. Just your strong emotions alone will literally give you a false positive many, many times. And I'm not saying don't use them, but maybe experiment with other stuff first. And when you're more sovereign in yourself, return to the pendulum. But a form of divination is key because it's going to give you a method of interfacing with spirit. Number 3 is a thing that I think is indispensable to those of you that are wanting to learn how to work with energy, clearing implants, clearing blockages in the chakras, opening up, like I was saying earlier, the layers around our organs, which is one of the number 1 things keeping us stuck in stages of development right now. And so with that, you will need to learn some form of energetic anatomy. You'll start learning about chakras, meridians. You'll hopefully be picking up a modality as well, which is step 3. Step 3 is where we begin to learn things like Reiki or shamanic healing. It doesn't matter which one you use, which one you take. What you're essentially going to be doing is giving yourself a foundation. And then this is the thing that I mean absolutely wholeheartedly. You will learn a method through one of the established modalities. You can even come to us through our website. We have an entire modality that we use. It's very vocally generated, but you will learn a modality and then break the rules. Make it your own. Take a little bit of this guy, a little bit of her, a little bit of that one, and put it all together into your own version. What we find is that when people really begin to master their abilities, it is because they've taken a piece of everything and put them together into their own version. So that's step 3. You will begin to build your identity through understanding energetic anatomy and modalities. And then there's step 4, which for those that know me will know I always say, this is the most important thing. You have to do this. I'll say that about everything. But step 4 is literally the most important thing. And that is energy body cultivation. What do I mean by that? Some form of regular daily energy clearing or hygiene practices. I use Qigong. I think it's the number 1 most powerful thing that you can do. It's a form of ancient warrior technology that will literally reverse age you. But it doesn't matter which one you choose. Some people do martial arts, other people do yoga. Some people, do this or that. It doesn't matter, but you're going to be learning to cultivate your vital life force energy. Why is that the most important thing? I'll pause after this because it is the deciding factor for many people. A lot of us, whether it's you or someone you know, has had that experience where for a few months in 2023, I started doing energy work. It went well. I did pretty good. And then after a while, something fades. We cannot maintain it. And that is because people have not been trained to cultivate their energy bodies. It will be the thing that keeps you going. It will be the thing that stops you from getting corrupted by negative energies and negative entities. And it will also be the thing that will keep you physically healthy throughout this journey. Because the reality is, when you really connect with spiritual energies, there will also be a price to pay. Your body will feel it. It will tax your energy. Yes, it will also give you healing, but we have to learn to refill the container. And so those are the 4 areas that I say everyone that really wants to do this work, you need to dive in there. There's probably more than 4, but those are the ones that I've been, devoting myself to over the years. And so I'll pause there because watch, I'll talk about this forever, but
I mean, the words of wisdom right there. I couldn't agree more,
Yeah.
and it's valuable advice. And I might actually take that segment and make it a separate clip because and upload it because it's crucial. I think it's important, and they're reminders. Everything you just said, I think everybody knows or has heard at one point. And but something I had to realize, and we all have to understand, is that just because you learned about something doesn't mean that you're actually applying it to your life. And that's the thing where I had to be honest with myself. I was like, well, am I doing this honestly? Like, yeah, I learned about this and we talked about it a million times on the show and we just interviewed somebody about it and we went super deep, but I know all about it, but am I applying it? And that's where I think it's crucial
Yeah.
just for you to, lay out those steps and remind us to start applying it because we have to reprogram ourselves too. Absolutely. It's programming. So, let's do one more reading and
totally,
we'll wrap this up if you're okay.
totally. Oh yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Aaron, do you want a reading?
Sure.
Okay,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
love one. Thank you.
If active you want, we can do one for both of you guys. If you think you
Yeah.
have time, it's
Yeah.
it's
You
an
got to do
honor.
both of
Sure.
those.
Do you have a question or a place in your life that you want to look at? Sometimes it
Mm,
helps if you do, but you don't have to have one. I know that when we have general questions, we get general results. So it's like, or you can be more refined, but it's really up to you.
not really, just general.
Okay, here we go. Oh Lord, you got oh man, this will sound dumb. You have a major security system around your energy body. I think you have a lot more power than you realize. And so you're gonna need to give me permission. You can just say it mentally. Imagine you're opening the door in your apartment or where you seriously imagine I'm knocking on your door.
Okay.
Just see your
Done.
hand opening. There you go. And okay, there you go. So yeah, I'll just comment on that really, really quickly. It's important for you to know that you are far more protected, maybe than you feel at times, maybe than other people have led you to believe. It's a dynamic that I encounter with certain people. There's a lot of people in our Patreon group or ones that I've talked to where I'm like, you need to give me permission to enter your field because some people you'll try to like go in and it's like, and you can't really, it's like you can stand and sort of look at them, but you can't actually go in. And so I think that's just important for you to know. You have a lot of protection around you,
That's
which is
good. That's good to know, actually.
I already knew that because you never get attacked ever.
oh,
I was gonna say
really?
Tyler already knew that.
I've always said that about him.
Yeah,
That's a
we
cool
lived together for like a
confirmation.
year and a half, and he would be mad at me all the time because nothing would ever happen to me.
That's a cool confirmation. It's not because you weren't feeling it. It's because you have some very, very powerful energies that will just like, "Oh, nope." Which a lot of them have. A lot of us have them. Some people are really well in tune with them, and it's like you'll be aware of it. And I know for me, I was not aware of such a thing, and it was a thing that actually stopped me from getting killed at previous stages of my life. It took me, once again to my 40s to go, oh, that was you guys, And so, anyway, this is for Aaron. For those of you assisting Aaron, 3, 2, 1, and boom. Well. Oh, you got a cool symbol, man. You got a 7 of Cups. And when you look at it, hopefully you can see it. There's a lot of symbolism here. Okay. We got this woman with her head in the clouds. We got all these cups around her. That's you, just so you know. When a Seven of Cups is in your life, you must understand that there are a number of very real outcomes and timelines and just, roads that you can go down right now. If you're not aware of them, this is them telling you, hey, all those ideas and thoughts and wishes and desires you've been playing around with in your head, but maybe not telling people about, or maybe you do tell people about, it doesn't matter. Those are all a lot more real than you think. It's a really cool trait for people that have Seven of Cups, but let's be real, they're not all good. As you can see, one of them has a dragon, one of them has a snake, one of them has, gold in it, one of them has a mask, which is a sign of mystery, just so you know. And when the Seven of Cups comes in, if you're wondering, what do I do with it? Well, you might need to make concerted decisions in terms of what it is that you truly want right now. Because people that have Seven of Cups, you can exist in a number of different timelines, number of different friend groups, number of different people, outcomes, situations, and sort of like the Knight of Cups, who we saw earlier. They can do that. They can exist right on the edge of all these different realities. But the problem is that they will never fully experience any one of these cups. It's like you'll sip from one, like, okay, that was cool. And then you'll go to another one. Yeah, that was cool. But you never ever get all of it until you decide, well, that's the one I want. That's the cup I'm going for. It does not negate the other outcomes or the other timelines that are available to you. It says that in order for you to achieve them, you must choose a primary destination. It shares a trait with the Fool card. The Fool can have anything, but they don't always know that's what they want. So they're just like, oh, okay. And so Seven of Cups has that problem. They'll think that a lot of the things they're dreaming of in their mind are just in their mind, and they're not. It's real. And so the more firm you can be in terms of what you actually want in this world and start naming it, it will need to come out of that external realm within your mind's eye, and it becomes something that you share with people, which is what we ultimately do with cups. You guys, we must share them with the world. You drink some, I drink some, you know what I mean? It's a very particular thing. So anyway, before I go on and on, decide on what you want right now and devote yourself to one singular thing, and you will notice an amount of progress will be made in your life that in some cases it's like you'd been waiting years for. And I know you and I are writing a book right now, so I'm like,
Yeah.
that could be a really good example of it, because with Seven of Cups, you'll finally go, fuck it, I'm just going to do that one right there. And then you'll notice this crazy series of events will unfold that could not have unfolded otherwise. And so anyway, to me, it's a cool thing. What do you
Pull the
think about that?
trigger. Pull the
That's
trigger.
yeah, that's I feel like that's pretty spot on. It's like there's all these paths I could take, but it's like what do I want to do? Like what's the highest timeline you could say for me, you know? It's like figuring out what that is. Obviously there's, obviously the podcast and, the conferences and documentaries and all the things we're doing, but like I feel like there's like my personal journey other than that too, or within that you could say. And it's like you said, I think the book is a big part of that. So I'm already kind of doing that right now. But it's like getting clear even more than that. And like, what do I want to focus my energy towards?
Yeah,
That's
cool.
actually spot on because I've been thinking a lot about that lately. So that's pretty
That's
amazing.
cool. I'm genuinely glad that has some, like reach into your life, because you never know in the world of tarot. I'll just trust it and go, boom, it's this. And so that's good to know. And yeah, thank you. And I guess for Tyler, do you want to do you want to
Oh, is
do
that? Yeah, sure. If you don't mind, it's Jackie Kenner. I believe that's Jackie Kenner in the chat. She says hi, and she
Hi,
says
Jackie.
your books are both going to be amazing too.
Oh,
if
thank you.
I can get through it all.
There's-
If I can get through it without freaking out or making myself sick or going into a weird, like, dream hallucination with, like Goatian
Right.
demons coming at me, because that's been a thing, literally, like literal, like real forces have shown up and going like, what are you doing? Why
Yeah.
are you doing this? It's
So
do you think
yeah,
it'd be this dangerous writing a book?
honestly, let me just comment on that really quick. I'm gonna be 100% real with everyone. I would love to say that it's been a joyous process of self-examination and discovery, but for me, it's been like, dumping out all kinds of poisonous trauma that I've endured throughout this life. And it's been so deep for me. There's like this smell and a taste that's like produced by my body when I'm doing it that I've learned over the years as a sign when there's a cellular release. And so I think for some of us, like I said earlier, it's a rite of passage into a different stage of your human journey. And at some point, we have to purge out everything that we've learned and everything we've become. And it's cool, you know, to be a part of a group of people that are prioritizing investing within themselves to such a point where they're like, I'm going to focus on this thing now. But I'll say it for those of you guys out there who maybe want to write a book, I'll just say it, it's a bitch, man. Like you're going to go into places in your life where you're like, I thought I was never going to go there again. I thought I would never go there again. And you'll remember all kinds of other things about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more intense than you would imagine it would be. Let's just say that. Even for me, like it's like, wow, man, there's like, you think, oh, I'm just going to write a book and it's going to be great, you know, and it is fun, but it at the same time, it's like intense and it like takes everything within you. You know, you're pouring your heart and soul out, basically, at least the types of books I feel like that we're writing, you know, it's like takes all of you, you know, and it can be very, very intense. And that's
It
how it's
really
been so
is.
far.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had traumatic experiences that you're writing about, or I can't even imagine, you know,
Yeah,
like
you're reading.
Tony said when he was writing his book, he would just like have to relive a lot of that trauma, and it would just,
Mhm.
you know, it'd take him like a month or two to overcome that and get back to writing it, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I fully agree. That was actually what made me willing to talk about like the MyLab stuff and this weird tag and release thing. Wow, it's still even hard for me to say those words. That's a trip. That's crazy. It's like so hard to talk about that I realized the only thing I could do was type it out. Ultimately, was type it out. And what's crazy is I might even take that part out of the book. I might even delete it in the
Uh,
end. I don't know. I don't know.
Man,
leave
no,
it.
leave it.
It's
My
valuable.
vote is leave it. It's a fascinating story and people can learn from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
And
That's up to you.
right. So yeah, for
Yeah, go
me,
ahead.
I mean, there's so many questions, right? Uh, I'm just gonna book a session after this, but uh,
Right.
something that right now, currently, I'm trying to relocate away from St. Louis. And but I've been trying to do it for years, and there's like this magnet here. It feels like, and I've heard other people describe it too, but it feels like I've either been I'm being kept here for a reason, or there's something holding me back from breaking free. And I'm just maybe we can pull a card surrounding like a relocation. Is it the right move, or what does that look like for me?
That's a very good question. I can tell you from an empathic perspective, it feels as though you're at a turning point with respect to prioritizing certain things. Like there will be a period of sacrifice that you'll choose to make that could in some way initiate a new timeline. But it's probably a little too it might be a little too personal if I dive into it here, but it has to do with the relationship energies and kind of correcting and like resolving previous aspects of yourself that have been kind of left under the covers from the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years. Like there's certain things that will be opened up and aired out, and then you'll notice it's kind of like a secret door effect, which is a weird thing I talk about, where it's like we will think that this one area of our life over here has nothing to do with that thing, and what'll happen is eventually you'll be like, well, I guess I'll just deal with this thing over here because I don't know what else to do and I'm not making any headway in that. And it's like as you deal with that completely unrelated area of your life, a weird little secret door opens over here. And then suddenly there's like, oh, and now all of a sudden, you guys, I'm moving to this new place and I have this awesome new house. And who knows, maybe you'll be, you know, whatever the situation is for you. Sometimes it's around like relationship stuff or other what we could call notable unions or engagements that one may take part in this life. And anyway, before I go on and on, we'll pull a card on it. For those of you guiding Tyler in the path of relocation and understanding what needs to be moved or changed or realized in that journey. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Whoa, you got I say this with everything, but you got a really cool symbol. But I'll be real, some people won't like it. They'll see this and they're like, wait, what? You're telling me this homeless people out in the cold? That's a cool symbol. Well, first off, it's a 5 of Pentacles. And so a 5 of Pentacles will come into your life in a time in which you feel limited by something. You'll feel like, well, maybe there's not enough of this, or maybe there's not enough of that, or how will I get along without this, or how will I do with that? And where will this come from? How will I make up for that? Look at what I have here. How can I go over there? And well, I'll have to, it's like there's a regeneration, or really what this is in its heart is an energy source in our world that we may feel in lack of. And it could be many things. I'm not going to try to define it for you. There could be a bunch of little things or one big thing, whatever it is. With a Five of Pentacles, we're usually only going to be aware of the things that we do not have that will keep us stuck in a position. And the position with Five of Pentacles is usually one where we just feel like whatever it is we need, we don't have it. And it's evidenced in a very symbolic way, because these guys, whatever it is they need, they clearly don't have it. But what they do have is each other. And what it means is that there is a path of resource available to you. If it is about moving, if it is about entering a new stage or relocating to a place, or maybe really it's just about generating a new timeline, especially if you were born and raised in St. Louis, were you?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Boom. There you go. I fully recommend for everyone at some point in their life, we need to move away from our hometown, even if it's only temporary, because I'll be real, most of us return, which is fine. We should. But a Five of Pentacles will come into your life at a time in which you have an untapped resource that can help you meet your goal that you might not be aware of. And it will come from other people. It will come from other connections. It will come from, like I said a few moments ago, notable unions, contracts, and agreements that we will take up with others to fill in the gaps in places where we feel we are in lack. And so one simple way we could put this is that your greatest resource to finding a new timeline and moving, if that's what you truly desire, will come from another person, not from your own kind of self, direction or your own effort. It's something that oftentimes couldn't take place unless we join in others in that task. And so I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. There's a lot
Right.
of other approaches to the Five of Pentacles, but just know that you are capable of, when you have this, you are capable right now of far more than you believe. And it's usually in the areas of your life where you feel the greatest lack. Like
Mhm.
you'll notice everyone has that thing, but I don't have that. It doesn't matter what it is, but you'll be like, wow, they have that and they have that, and oh, they also have that. And how will I gain that? The Five of Pentacles says you can, and you have, but you have to change your perspective, because each one of the fives in the world of tarot is what we call an illusionary stage in which we get caught up in something. Like for the Five of Cups, which is a whole different story, you would be caught up in emotions or things that went wrong. The Five of Wands, you would be caught up in chaos. The Five of Swords, you'd be caught up in other people's business and other people's shit, and you'd be like all worried about other people. And then you have a Five of Pentacles, and we could say you'd be caught up in the things that you perceive that you don't have. And
Mhm.
so it asks you to look at your situation with a different perspective or from a different angle. And usually when you do, something will shift very, very quickly, because these are all super short-term things. But the fives, and if you look at it from a numerological perspective, the fives always signal change. That's just
Right.
what the number five does. It's a number of change. And so when the fives come into your life, Spirit's asking you to change your perspective about what it is you think you do not have right now. And
Right.
anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but
It's yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting you said that, because I've ran that through my head so many times, as far as, well, what am I going to do about this? Where how am I going to get this? Like I have it such a I have it made where I'm at, basically. And it's all taken care of. I know where everything's coming from, and then there's a lot of unknowns, and I run that through my head. And so that's exactly accurate. I know exactly. And I do agree that I guess I never looked at it as limiting. I was just trying to be too specific and waiting for like the perfect scenario, which I'm thinking more of just a leap and wing it and figure it out type of thing. Uh,
that actually feels good.
yeah,
It's like you'll sort of take a tour of
right,
certain places in the country. You'll live there for a while, for a month. Or you could do the Airbnb and B tour thing. I've known a couple other people that have done that. They'll
right.
take like 3 months and they'll be like, I'm gonna live for a couple weeks in this area, and then I'm gonna live over here in this area. And um, who knows, maybe that'll help, but that might also be me going far too deeply into it.
Oh
But
no, I mean that resonates, and actually that was kind of one of my ideas already to, we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate it. That was very accurate and on point. And thank you for joining us today. This has been amazing.
thanks for having me.
it was a lot of fun, and we
Yeah.
got into some crazy stuff, and I think we covered a lot of important stuff as well. And I would also like to take this opportunity to remind everybody that they can still join us at the conference. Matthew's going to be there doing this. Him and his wife are going to be giving sessions to anyone who wants to sign up. And it's been very successful the last 2 years. So we're really looking forward to having you back.
Thank
And
you.
all the tickets and information are available at rebelsofdisclosure.com. And grab a ticket before it's too late, because it's definitely filling up. And if you can't make it in person, we would love for you to enjoy it via virtually. The live stream passes are only $88 this year, so take advantage of that. And is there any last words you'd like to leave us with, Matthew?
Well, I just want to say thank you to all those people within our soul group that have shown up for us and, taken part in our classes and the stuff that we've done over the years. Like I said earlier, we are in a very, not necessarily unique, but a very, very particular, realm within our soul group. And I'm constantly blown away by the people that continually seek us out for guidance, for readings, for healings. And I'll be real, a lot of people, it's like they don't even care about you until they need something. But the reality is I'm honored to be needed and to be embraced by this soul group and this like community. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone out there. And it's an honor to be a part of this movement and this time on earth with you all.
Yeah, that was well said. Thank you. And
Well
don't
said.
forget, you can find everything Matthew has to offer at rememberyourmission.com. And I don't know, I did put that link below, or at least do you have a YouTube channel too? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, we do. We're actually somehow we're still on YouTube. I don't know how that worked, but we do a semi-regular live show. I've taken the last month off to do this writing thing, but we will be returning very soon. And so you can also find us on YouTube at Remember Your Mission, and you can actually help us break through our shadow ban and algorithm cap. They have us literally locked in a stage. They remove 20 to 30 or more subscribers from me every week, and then they fill
Right.
up again. It's a sad thing to see, but you guys can find us over there. There's a number of workshops on YouTube. There's a number of lives that we do, all kinds of wild stuff. So find us on YouTube at Remember Your Mission.
Yeah, and we noticed that before we left YouTube, the numbers were just being suppressed and crunched and deleted, and
they did
we
that to
can
us the whole time, and like 50 subscribers or more at a time, just
Mhm.
and then
so
it'd have to go back. Yeah.
and then we were nearing 50,000 subscribers, and then we go down to 10K over here, 11K now, but what we noticed is the numbers are actually higher with 11K subscribers. We have higher numbers on Rumble than we had with 50K subscribers on YouTube.
So do the math there,
So
right?
do the math. Yeah,
Nice.
right.
It's
I
like, doesn't
mean,
add up.
it doesn't add up. That shows you how much they're suppressing it.
Oh yeah. That's cool. Honestly, I
Yeah.
miss like the YouTube days. That was a good one. Rumble is still cool. Don't get me
I
wrong.
I miss it too.
Yeah, we
Rumble,
do too.
like they can't, like it's cool
Different.
to go live because we can still do the chat thing, but we can't premiere, and there's a number of things that's kind of not user friendly. But either way,
Getting better little by little,
right. The
Right.
YouTube days were definitely fun. Those premieres were fun, and but we were kind of
Hey,
redirected.
no censorship though. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard to beat that, YouTube, we were always having to censor ourselves with a lot of things, and we still got deleted eventually. So,
right,
I mean,
right.
it took them 5 years, but finally happened.
It's a mark
But
of honor. I think it is.
badge
It's
of
a mark
honor,
of honor.
absolutely. I mean, we
Yeah,
were shocked it hadn't happened years ago, honestly.
right.
Um,
And then
so
Aaron tried to create another channel, and they took that one down.
and
So
then
Oh,
yeah,
wait, really?
actually,
They
and then I
did?
created another
yeah,
one. There's one still up, so we are
well,
on YouTube,
he
guys.
had a third one though.
I have a third one that has 2 strikes on it
Oh
right now
man. Okay.
that could be deleted again.
It's all
Right.
But
good. William.
So
I'm
we actually
I'm
did
I'm
try to
I'm
come back.
uploading our old to new stuff, but I'm still in the 2 strike window that I can't upload for another 2 days.
Oh wow.
But I'm gonna get caught up to present day at some point in the future on there, and then that's like a backup. Like this is still gonna be our main channel. So
Right.
Nice. Nice. Cool.
Anyway, yeah, this is amazing. This has been amazing, I should say. And we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much, Matthew. This was a lot
Thank
of
you as
fun,
well.
and we can't wait to see you in a few months in May in
yes,
Grafton. It's gonna be amazing. So
We'll be there.
good night, everybody. We love you, and until next time, have a great evening.
good night, guys.